After working on many projects over the years, I've noticed that some directors don't completely understand the process of what it's like working with the composer. So, I decided to make this video to help break down that process of working with the composer from start to finish. Hi, my name is Josh. I'm a composer for film and TV. Today, I'll be breaking down different aspects of the film scoring process. If there's a specific topic in this video that interests you, feel free to take a look at the description for timestamps below. This video will be an overview of everything that I think about during this process. Everybody has their own method, but this is what's worked for me. Okay, so step 1, start the project and get as many details as you can. Usually when I start a new project, I like to have an initial conversation with the director to go over key details. This is honestly one of the most important parts of the process because it will set the tone for the entire project. Okay, now let's get into the key details that I like to go over in this initial meeting. First, project length. Is this going to be a TV series that has multiple hour-long episodes? Is it going to be an hour and a half or 2-hour movie with wall-to-wall music? Is it going to be short, 5 minutes long with 1 or 2 cues? Next, I like to talk about genre. What style is it? Is it drama, action, comedy? These are all important pieces of information to talk about. I also like to talk about timeline. When is the film scoring process going to start, and when does music need to be delivered by? Very important. Next is how much music is going to be approximately needed for the project. Do they have a rough idea? Do they not know yet? I also like to talk about the music budget. This is a tricky conversation, but it's an important one. Do they have a rough budget in mind before having this conversation? Do they have a set amount that they want to spend? These are all really important details that composers and directors need to discuss before the composer even starts writing any music. Everybody needs to be on the same page with this. Once everybody's on the same page about all these previous points, this is when both parties will sign a contract detailing everything that's been discussed. Okay, so all of that is really the initial step of getting this process started. After I'm signed onto a project, I like to have a quote-unquote spotting meeting in order to determine where music should go and what type of music should be written in each scene. This is very important just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Sometimes spotting meetings are not going to be possible because of time constraints, but at this point we need to make sure that either the temp score is very good or that there are notes given by the director for the composer to give them some kind of emotional direction, as in, I want this scene to feel sad, or this scene needs to be intense and driving. After the spotting meeting, I like to have a cut of the film sent to me with first a timecode burn, second, separate files for dialogue, music, and sound effects. You can combine the dialogue and sound effects track, but you have to make sure that the temp music is separate from the dialogue. And this is very important because when I'm ready to deliver the first version of my score, I need to be able to do that alongside the dialogue and sound effects. If the dialogue, sound effects, and music are all on the same track, I'll have to submit the first version of my score with a muted video. And this just doesn't accomplish what we really need it to. The directors need to be able to hear my music alongside the dialogue and sound effects in order to get an accurate representation of what my score would sound like in the final draft. Next, once I have all the files that I need, I will proceed to start writing music and eventually deliver the first version of my score. The director will then take a listen to the music that I have presented and give their feedback. This is really a natural part of the process, and it basically happens every time I work on a new project. Feedback is all part of the process, and it's completely normal. There have been plenty of films that I scored where it took me a few versions to get to the approved mix. Film scoring is an art, not a science. Again, I just want to emphasize that this is a totally natural part of the process and nothing to be ashamed of if you don't get it on the first try. This especially applies to projects without temp music. Once the final score is approved and everybody's happy, I then ask the director how do they want me to deliver the music. Do I deliver separate files for each cue? Will I be delivering in a Pro Tools session? In case you're not aware, Pro Tools is very commonly used, and I'm often asked to deliver my music in the form of a Pro Tools session in addition to separate files for each cue. When delivering my music, I'm often asked to print what are called stems, and this is basically just a file for each individual section of the music. For example, strings might be their own stem, percussion, brass. Sometimes you can separate individual things like short strings and long strings, or cymbals if you want to get very specific. But again, this is all based on what's asked of the composer. However, as a general rule, I'll usually deliver a Pro Tools session with all my music lined up, and I'll label them either full mix or stem, and I'll make sure that everything is lined up to timecode. I'll give an example of my file naming convention in the description below so you can take a look. Once we confirm how the music should be delivered, I ask about specifications. Typically, I deliver either WAV files or AIF files at 48K 24-bit. This is pretty much standard practice at this point. And that's it. That's my full process of working as a film composer with the director from start to finish. I hope this helps. If you're interested in working together, feel free to reach out at my website below, joshginsburgcomposer.com, or if you want to learn about how I compose music, take a look at this video here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.